Welcome back to another lecture on steel structures. Today in this video, we are going to discuss about the use of lacings in steel structure, and we will be simultaneously solving a design problem on lacings. So this entire design problem has been divided into 3 videos or into 3 parts. Now, as soon as I finish recording the other 2 parts, I will give the links of those 2 videos in the description box for this video, right? So before taking up a design problem on lacings, we first have to know what are lacings. So lacings are essentially rectangular flats which are used for connecting the components of a built-up column. Now, what is a built-up column? Built-up columns are composed of 2 or more parallel main components, which can be I sections, which can be C sections or angular sections. And these main components of a built-up column are interconnected with the help of lacings, or in some cases battens. Now, the main topic for our discussion in this video are lacings. So we will be discussing battens in some other lecture, right? Now, if you observe the screen, you can see certain figures. So all these figures represent a built-up column which has been composed with 2 I-beams or 2 I sections. Now first observe this figure. Here you can see 2 rectangular portions, okay? So these rectangular portions are nothing but the flanges of 2 I sections, and these 2 flanges have been interconnected with the help of this inclined rectangular flats or inclined rectangular plates. Now these rectangular plates are nothing but lacings, and they have been bolted to the flanges of these I-beams, okay? So the lacings can be connected to the main components, to the different components of a built-up column with the help of either bolting or with the help of rivets, or they can also be welded, right? Now, if you view this built-up column from this direction, you will observe a structure somewhat like this, okay? So you can clearly see that this built-up column has been made up with 2 I sections or 2 I-beams, and you can also see 2 dotted lines drawn at the top and at the bottom of these 2 I sections. Now these dotted lines represent the presence of lacings, or they just represent the lacings, right? And these lacings can be connected either by bolting or through rivets or by welding. Very simple. Okay. So this is a typical structure of a built-up column. Okay, you can see these 2 vertical components on this side and this side. These 2 vertical components are the main components that form the built-up column. They can be channel sections that are placed front, face to face, or back-to-back channel sections can also be used. We can also use I sections, as I had shown you in the other figure. And also we can use angles in this type, right? The angles have been connected on all 4 sides with the help of lacings. Okay, so these inclined portions, these inclined components are known as lacings, and these horizontal components are known as cross numbers, right? Now lacings can be single lacing or they can be double lacing also. We will see this later. And here in the second figure, the second built-up column is not connected with lacings. They have been connected with the help of battens, right? Battens are horizontal rectangular plates, right? Now let's move on to the problem. So design a built-up column consisting of 2 rolled I sections to carry an axial load of 1000 kilonewton in service condition. The effective length of the column is 5 meter. Also design a bracing system for the built-up section. Now, what does this last line mean? It means that you have to design either a lacing system or a batten system. So for this design problem, we are going to adopt a lacing system as the bracing for the built-up column. Now, the built-up column is composed of 2 I sections, okay? It is already there, and an axial load of 1000 kilonewton is acting on this built-up column, which is in service condition. The effective length is also given, which is equal to 5 meters. Clear? Now, first what you have to do, you have to collect all the data which is there in your problem. Effective length is given as 5 meter, axial load is given as 1000 kilonewton, right? Now this axial load is also compressive in nature. So I'm writing here it as a compressive axial load. Okay, we have to factorize this axial load because it is given in service condition. In order to factorize it, we have to multiply it with 1.5 and it becomes equal to 1500 kilonewton. Okay, now as you can see, there is no compressive stress mentioned in the problem. So here I am assuming an average compressive stress as 150 Newton per meter square. So why am I assuming this compressive stress? Because I have to design the built up column, the components of the built up column. Okay, I have to calculate the area which is required to resist this load, this 1000 kilonewton load. Hence, I need to know what is the compressive stress. Clear? So with the help of this axial load and the average compressive stress, I will be calculating the total sectional area which is required in order to build up my built up column. Clear? So I divide the value, the amount of load. I divide the compressive stress. Sorry, it will be the other way around. I will divide the load by the compressive stress, and that is equal to 10,000 millimeters square. Okay, so this is the total cross-sectional area for my 2 rolled I sections. Okay, what I have to do, I will design, or I will just take up one I section and design accordingly. Okay, so what will be the sectional area required for each I section? I will simply divide this area by 2 and I will be getting it as 5000 millimeters square. Now you can go to SP6 or you can go to IS 800 2007, and based on this area you have to choose an I section. Okay, now whatever I section we are choosing, we will always keep in mind that both the I sections in a built up column will be the same. Okay, both of them will have the same properties and the same cross sectional area. Clear? So I will just show you SP6. Okay, I'm going to SP6 and this is page number 2. And as you can see, all the different rolled I sections, prefabricated roll sections are given here, and for each I section, all the properties, that is cross-sectional area, the dimensions, then the radius of gyration, moment of inertia, all the values are mentioned, okay, corresponding to different I sections. So I'm choosing a section of ISMB 300, okay, and its sectional area is how much? 5626 millimeters square. This is given in centimeters square, but better converted into millimeters square, and jot down all the properties, all the dimensions for this I-beam, right? Now let's go back to the problem. Okay, so we are assuming ISMB 300, okay, at the rate of 44.2 kg per meter. Okay, now the same thing is also available in the code. You can go to the code and choose a section. So the cross-sectional area is 5626 millimeters square. The total depth of the I section, which is given as H, is equal to 300 millimeters. Okay, let me show you. And then we have BF, which is the width of the flange. Then we have the thickness of flange, thickness of web. We have moment of inertia about ZZ axis, moment of inertia about YY axis. Okay, this is the root radius R1, this is the gauge distance, and we have the radius of gyration about ZZ axis and YY axis. Okay, now in case you don't understand, I will be showing you the figure of how an I section looks and what are the different properties. So I hope this is visible. So this is my I section, okay, and this 2 horizontal components, okay, at the top and the bottom are known as flanges, right? The width of the flanges is given as BF, or we can also write it as B. The overall depth of this I-beam is H, right? the thickness of the flange, okay, the thickness is measured here. See, this is the average thickness and it is annotated as TF, and the thickness of web is TW, right? This is the root radius, which is given as R1. Very simple. Okay. Now we are done choosing the sections of a built-up column. Next, what we have to do, next we will check whether the required area is sufficient, whether the area that we have chosen, the cross-sectional area of these two eye sections we have chosen, is greater than the required area or not. Now see, the area per eye section is how much? 5626 millimeters square. So for two eye sections, it is 11252 millimeters square. Now this is clearly greater than the required area that we had calculated earlier, which was equal to 10,000 millimeters square. Done. Okay. The section is safe. Okay. The next thing that we have to do is we have to determine the clear spacing between these two I-beams where these two sections has to be placed. Okay. So what is the clear spacing or the clear distance? See, these are the two I-beams of the built-up column, and this S, the distance S denotes the clear spacing between these two I-beams, or the clear spacing, the spacing apart which these two I-beams will have to be placed. Now you have to keep one thing in mind, that this distance, you cannot choose this distance arbitrarily, okay? It has to be chosen in such a way that the built-up column has the maximum strength to withstand all the compressive loads that are acting on it, right? So in order to ensure the maximum strength of this built-up column, this spacing should be chosen in such a way that the moment of inertia about the x-x axis should be equal to the moment of inertia about the y-y axis, okay? Now if we equate these two moment of inertia, the total moment of inertia of the built-up column about the x-x axis and the y-y axis, then only we will be able to ensure maximum strength with respect to which we can calculate the clear spacing S between these two sections. Clear? Okay, so what is Ix and what is Iy? Ix is the moment of inertia for the entire built-up column, where x-x axis will be passing through here, right? And for the entire built-up column, Iy is the moment of inertia about the y-y axis, which is passing through here, okay? So x-x axis and y-y axis will be passing through the centroid of the built-up column, and they have been shown in red, okay? So this is the x-x axis for the entire built-up column, okay, consisting of two beams, and y-y axis will be passing through here. So let me just annotate it. Okay, this is my y and this is y. Okay, now what do we have? We have the moment of inertia values for only one beam about the x-x axis and about the y-y axis. Okay, so Ixx or Izz is equal to 8603.6 into 10 to the power 4, and we have Iyy is equal to 453.9 into 10 to the power 4 millimeter to the power 4. Clear? So if we consider this beam, then the Ixx value, okay, is about this axis, okay, which is given as how much? It is given as Ixx is equal to 8623 point something into 10 to the power 4, okay? And how much is Iyy? The moment of inertia about this axis is given. This is equal to 453.9 into 10 to the power 4, right? Now what happens for the built-up column? It is a coincidence that the x-x axis for the entire built-up section corresponds with the x-x axis about one single I-beam. So in order to find the moment of inertia for the entire built up column, what you have to do, you have to simply multiply the moment of inertia for one I-beam with 2, because there are 2 I-beams. Okay, so that is how you are going to get the moment of inertia for the entire built up column. So twice into moment of inertia of one I-beam will give us the moment of inertia for the entire built up column. Now that is equal to how much? That is equal to 17207.2 into 10 to the power 4 millimeter to the power 4. Now this value I've written it wrong. It is going to be 8603.6. Okay. Now calculating the moment of inertia about the x-axis axis was simple. How to calculate the moment of inertia about these two y axis? Okay. So this is my, let me write it down. This is the y axis of the built up column, but I know the moment of inertia of one I-beam about this axis. Okay, this is the centroid of my individual I-beam, and I know the moment of inertia about this axis. This was equal to how much? This is equal to 453.9 into 10 to the power 4. Okay. Now, in order for you to find the moment of inertia about this axis, what you have to do, you have to adopt parallel axis theorem. Okay, so you have to add the area of this I-beam into r square with this moment of inertia value. Okay, so in order to calculate the moment of inertia about this axis, we can write it as Ix is equal to how much? Okay, I'm writing it as small x. This will be equal to the moment of inertia about this axis, that is 453.9 into 10 to the power 4, plus how much? Plus area of this I-beam, that is equal to 5626 millimeter square into the distance between these two axes. Okay, the perpendicular distance between these two axes. So how will you measure the distance between these two axes? You know the width of this flange, which is equal to BF. Sorry, this from here to here, it is equal to how much? It is equal to BF, right? So what is this distance going to be? It is going to be BF by 2. Very simple. This distance is nothing but BF by 2. Okay, this is going to be BF by 2, and this clear spacing was annotated as S. So how much will be this distance from here to here? Let me show it. So from here till here, it is going to be S by 2. As simple as that. S by 2. Okay, so from the distance between this axis and this axis is how much? BF by 2 plus S by 2, and this is only the R in your parallel axis theorem. This is equal to BF by 2 plus S by 2 whole square. Okay, so this is the moment of inertia. This is the moment of inertia for only one I-beam about this axis. This is the moment of inertia of only one I-beam about this axis. Keep that in mind. And in order to find the moment of inertia of the entire built up column consisting of two I-beams, what you have to do, you have to multiply this entire value with 2. Okay, you multiply this entire value with 2. Clear? Okay, I did a mistake here. This is not going to be Ix, this is going to be Iy. Okay, I do this mistake every single time. Please take note that this is not Ix, this is equal to Iy. So once you have calculated the value of Ix and you have calculated the value of Iy, what you have to do in order to find the appropriate value of S, you have to equate these two equations, Ix equal to Iy, like this. Here I have done it, Ix equal to Iy. So you can see the same calculation written over here. Okay, this is 70 is nothing but BF by 2. BF was 140. Half of 140 is 70. Okay, so I'll clear the drawings and I'll go down. And if you solve it, okay, the solution is very simple. If you solve it, you are going to get the value of S. Okay, it is coming as 100.7 millimeter. Right now we will just increase the value of S a little bit. We'll take S as 110 millimeter. Okay, so this is how I have determined the clear spacing at which the two columns will be placed, and I have also determined or already chosen the section with which my built up columns will be made of. The next thing that I have to do is I have to design the lacing. Okay, and I have to check whether the force which is being exerted on the lacing is adequately carried by the lacing or not. Okay, I will give the links of my other two videos on the design of lacings below the description box of this video. And if in case you have any doubts, then you can contact me. You can write down in the comment section. If you want any other video, you can tell me. And don't forget to subscribe my channel.